President of the FCCT, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, allow me a brief moment to express my deepest sympathy and condolences to our Japanese friends on what they have been through as a result of the devastating earthquake and tsunami on Friday, the 11th of March. Japan has long been a good friend of Thailand and has always helped us when problems strike. She has shown her commitments to Thailand, especially in terms of trade and investment through good and bad times. And we also recall that when we were hit with the tsunami, the Japanese government and people gave us full support. So let me, at this stage, again, show our concern and consideration to our Japanese friends, and we wish them the best so that they can overcome the current crisis. It has always been a pleasure for me to come and meet members of the Foreign Correspondents Club of Thailand, although admittedly it was a greater pleasure when I was in the opposition. And I'm sure that over the last couple of years, you always ask yourselves in your mind, is this guy going to be back next year? Well, this year is no different. You will be wondering whether I will be here next year. I'm wondering too. But the people of Thailand will decide through the ballot box whether I should be here next year. And I remember last year when I was here, I said that it was a good rehearsal for the censure motion. This year it's the reverse. I had a good rehearsal for tonight from last week's 4-day grilling. But the point that I would like to make tonight is that it is time for Thailand to move forward. We've been through so much over the last 2 years during my tenure, and a few years before that even, through the turbulence and the political challenges. But at least over the last couple of years, they have had a government that has been determined to remain focused on moving the country forward, steering the economy through one of the severest global financial crises that we've witnessed in recent or even in modern times, and also to face up to the political challenges, whereby when we assumed office, there was hardly a functioning government. And we have steered the country and the political system over these last couple of years through enormous and unprecedented challenges. There are times and events where we have all regretted what has happened, particularly the losses of people's lives. But it was our job, first and foremost, to ensure that there was rule of law, and that we exercise the utmost restraint, tolerance, and patience, and try to move the country through these difficult times, at the same time remaining focused on what really matters to the majority of Thais, which is that their lives should be improved. And we've done that as well. It's not just about the macroeconomic numbers that you see today, where we move from a 2.3% contraction of the economy to 7.8% registered last year, or the numbers that now say we have the highest number of tourists and exports, revenues, record high, still expanding at a very healthy rate. or the fact that we have been able to keep fiscal and monetary stability despite the scale of the financial crisis that hit the global economy. The ability to keep the debt-GDP ratio, which is now currently at 41–42% and declining. And, of course, keeping unemployment relatively low. Well, actually, by international standards, it would be very low, to around 1% or below. These things matter, these things help, but there were a number of policies that we actively pursued despite the turbulences. Free basic education for 15 years, so that families are now comfortable about having their kids in school, where there would be no tuition fees, and they'd get uniforms and supplies and books for their children. 2 years ago, a lot of families would still have to set aside a fair bit of their income for the elderly. Today, at least, they get the 500 baht a month support. Not nearly enough, but very meaningful to a majority of poor families, especially in rural areas. 2 years ago, farmers always face uncertainties about the weather, about prices. And now, farmers who make the majority of the population enjoy the income guarantee program if they grow rice, if they grow maize, if they grow tapioca, which is for the first time led to increased security in their lives. And one of the numbers that has not been mentioned much, but has been meaningful to me and those who have worked with me, is the increased amount of money that these people have in their bank accounts with the Bank for Agriculture and Agricultural Cooperatives. The deposit per account has increased on average 10% over the last couple of years, suggesting that they actually have an opportunity to be savers rather than being so indebted. And there are also a number of other initiatives that we have already undertaken, which will go further to create the kind of security for our people's lives. And also a number of measures that have reached out to those people who have always been left behind, classified often as people in the informal sector. We've already run a successful program for a lot of people who have been indebted to loan sharks, paying incredible interest rates, their lives being threatened, having to repay these debts. And we've already helped 400,000 people to actually convert those debts or loans to bank loans. In the process, actually creating good customers for these banks as well. And we'll do a second round of registration for that very soon. We're now in the process of registering people outside the social security system because they have no employers. Now they are given a chance to contribute 70 baht, 100 baht per month, and the government will make contributions of 30 baht and 50 baht, and they will enjoy the benefits of those in the social security system. That can reach out to as many people as maybe 20 million who have been left out all along in the development process. So these are the actions, these are the things that we've done and we are continuing to do. In Bangkok, special pilot projects are underway about registering motorcycle taxis. Street vendors will be able to sell their goods legally, and they'll also have access to loans from government banks. These are the kinds of things that we've been able to achieve beyond the headlines and despite all the challenges and turbulence that we've been through over these 2.5 years. But the Thai people still deserve more. And despite the fact that we've moved on from the economic crisis, the Thai people now face a new challenge: rising prices. The cost of living is going up, and it may be a global phenomenon, but all they know is that they have to make ends meet. At the same time, there are some structural or long-term problems that continue to need to be solved. Drugs, even the situation in the South, where we have changed our policy stance clearly and we believe we are on the right track. But the problems are still there and they need to be handled in a consistent and continuous manner. That's why I decided it was a good time for the people to decide on the direction of the country. Since the scenario now changes, we've got new challenges, it would be good for them to have a choice. Do they want to move forward with the policies that we have initiated and that we will build on, the people's policies? Or do they want to stay in this cycle of conflict and violence? Do they want a government that would continue with putting their interests first? Or do they want people who are still tied to one person's interest and wouldn't allow the country and the Thai people to move beyond that? That's the choice that will be facing the Thai electorate, maybe the end of June, or at latest it will be in July. And for me, as a Democrat Party leader, we have already been clear about what we want to continue to do. We recognize that the number one priority now is to help people fight high prices. And while we will continue with some of the subsidies that we have put in place, for instance, for cooking gas, for diesel, we also recognize that we cannot subsidize everything or put a control on all prices. And the only way to fight that is to make sure that the incomes, the money in their pockets, increase. Which is why we have made a commitment that we'd like to see the minimum wage increase by 25% within the next 2 years. It's something that these people deserve. It's also something that I think the Thai economy deserves. A stronger domestic economy, a fairer economy, and one that will allow prices and wages to move up according to the stage of development of the country. We will increase and improve upon the income guarantee for farmers, since their costs have increased, and I think they deserve a higher rate of return as well on what they do, because we want to continue to move forward with the revival of our agricultural sector and also make sure that there is something that we can contribute to as far as food security is concerned, not just for this country, but for the region and the world. We're also going to extend opportunities for our children. 15-year free basic education is not enough. So many families, so many parents aspire to have their children going on to higher education. We'll make available more loans for higher education students. 250,000 is the right number that we think we need to fill that gap between all those applicants each year who gets turned down by the student loan office. We'll also continue with our policy to give community land titles so that a number of communities will enjoy the kind of security that has eluded them for so long. And we will also strengthen the police force and the personnel to deal with the problems of drugs, which clearly is a threat to families, to communities, and to the country as a whole. At the same time, the approach that we have taken towards the southern border provinces, where we say that development and justice must be the key to achieve lasting peace, will also continue. We'll build on the new legislation that we have passed, where the Southern Border Provinces Administration Center has now become more unified in its command structure and also will allow the participation of local people in its advisory board and its policy making. At the same time, as the elections allow Thailand to move forward, we will also be able to contribute more at the international level. During Thailand's chairmanship, we made a commitment for ASEAN to move into an economic community by the year 2015. And last year, we had suggested connectivity as a key policy priority for the whole of ASEAN. And we're also, of course, engaged in a number of infrastructure investment to make that connectivity happen, like the high-speed rail and the upgrading of roads network that will also allow Thailand to become the hub of what I call mainland Southeast Asia. And we can pursue further liberalization agenda with free trade agreements with all the ASEAN and ASEAN dialogue partners and even beyond. And of course, there are other issues that we also hope we can better handle. For instance, dealing with corruption, where we are in the process of improving upon a number of key areas in terms of civil service, transfer and promotion system, and the procurement system that needs to be revamped to prevent corruption. These are all issues that have mattered to the Thai people all along. Some of these have been addressed over the last couple of years, but there is much more to do. And we want the Thai people to give that mandate for us to move forward. And I hope that by the time next year's FCCT dinner arrives, I shall be here to report of further progress on delivering the people's policies for the benefits of the Thai people and Thailand. Thank you.